Hello and welcome to CVR News Network. You're watching CVR English, World 360 and I'm Sandeep. Pope Francis' funeral has been scheduled for Saturday at 10 a.m. The ceremony will be led by the Dean of College of Cardinals and is expected to draw global attention as faithful and dignitaries from around the world prepare to pay their final respects to the late pontiff. The Vatican has released pictures and video showing the Pope Francis inside an open coffin during the rite of confirmation of the pontiff's death. The leader of the Catholic Church died at 88 from a cerebral stroke and subsequent irreversible heart failure on Easter Monday, the Vatican confirmed.
Per risorgere con lui, aspergiamo il corpo del nostro Papa Francesco, rendiamo grazie a Dio che reggiamo il corpo del nostro Papa Francesco, rendiamo grazie a nella luce della beatitudine eterna. Per Cristo, a una vita nuova in Cristo, nello Spirito Santo.
Nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie,
Following the death of Pope Francis on April 21st, the Catholic Church has entered a period of sede vacante, marking the beginning of the preparations for the conclave to elect the next Pope. Among the 135 cardinal electors eligible to vote in this secretive process are 4 Indian cardinals, including 2 from the southern state of Kerala. The passing of 88-year-old pontiff due to a stroke and heart failure at his residence in Casa Santa Marta has brought global attention to the Church next chapter and the role of Indian clergy in shaping its future leadership. Argentinians gathered to pay tribute to Pope Francis during a mass held at San Dos de Flores Basilica in Buenos Aires. The Argentine pontiff, who passed away at the age of 88 due to a stroke, was remembered for his transformative leadership of the Catholic Church. His death, announced by Vatican, came after 12 years of reforming the Church, during which he inspired devotion in many while also rallying traditionalists. His legacy as a reformer and his deep connection to his home country were honored during the ceremony. However, people are to some extent disappointed that as a pope, he never visited his home country. Hundreds of Catholics attended a mass commemorating the late Pope Francis on Monday at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. The historic cathedral temporarily suspended visits and tours to accommodate the mass and a prayer vigil that is set to last until midnight. Earlier that day, the cathedral bells tolled 88 times, symbolically representing each year of the Pope's life. Pope Francis, the first Latin American leader of the Roman Catholic Church, died on Monday, ending an often turbulent reign in which he sought to overhaul an ancient and divided institution.
N'est-ce pas ce ministère que le pape François a voulu accomplir durant les 12 années de son pontificat? Aller à la rencontre de ceux qui sont dans la faiblesse, de ceux qui sont isolés, de ceux qui ne sont pas reconnus. Souvenez-vous de ce premier voyage qu'il fit lorsqu'en Italie, il alla à Lampedusa, manifestant ainsi son attention pour les migrants, ceux que le monde ne regarde pas. François le confiant à la miséricorde de Dieu. Dans le... N'est-ce pas ce ministère que le pape François a voulu accomplir?
A Delta Airlines flight was evacuated at Orlando International Airport on Monday after one of its engines caught fire. Flight 1213, an Airbus A330, was preparing to depart for Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport when the fire occurred at approximately 11:15 a.m. The aircraft was carrying 282 passengers, 10 flight crew members, and 2 pilots. Passengers evacuated using emergency slides, but fortunately no injuries were reported. The Federal Aviation Administration (FAA) is investigating the cause of the fire, while Delta arranged another plane to continue the journey. The Paws volcano, one of the Costa Rica's most popular tourist attractions, erupted suddenly on Monday, arousing the interest of many social media users and amateur volcanologists.
Costa Rica'nın ən məşhur turistik məkanlarından biri olan Paws vulkanı bazar ertəsi qəflətən püskürdü və bir çox sosial media istifadəçisinin və həvəskar vulkanoloqun marağına səbəb oldu. Associated Press-in məlumatına görə Costa Rica Milli Universitetinin vulkanoloji və seismoloji rəsədxanası Paws tərəfindən qeydə alınan güclü püskürmənin ən azı 3 kilometr yüksəkliyində kül sütunu atdığını təsdiqləyib. Oksikarinin seismoloqu Martin Demur deyib, artıq kül yağması ilə bağlı bir neçə məlumat var və Oskari vəziyyəti izləməyə davam edir.
A las 2:14 de la tarde, la erupción produjo una columna eruptiva que llegó hasta 3 o 4 kilómetros sobre el nivel del cráter y la ceniza se dispersa hacia el suroeste. Ya existen varios reportes de caída de ceniza y el Otsicori sigue monitoreando la situación.
Costa Rica'nın ən məşhur turistik məkanlarından biri olan Paws vulkanı bazar ertəsi qəflətən püskürdü və bir çox sosial media istifadəçisinin və
Russian President Vladimir Putin, under pressure from Washington to show willingness to make peace in Ukraine, proposed on Monday bilateral talks with Kiev for the first time in years and said he was open to more ceasefire after a one-day Easter truce. Separately, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed Kiev was sending a delegation to London to meet with the United States and other Western countries on Wednesday.
Боевые действия возобновились. Мы об этом сказали с самого начала, когда объявляли перемирие. Мы к перемирию всегда относимся положительно, поэтому и выступили с такой инициативой. Мы всегда об этом говорили, о том, что мы относимся к любым мирным инициативам положительно. Надеемся, что также к этому будут относиться и представители киевского режима. Хотя мы видели первичную реакцию, я думаю, что это все заметили, было опубликовано заявление, согласно которому наше предложение рассматривалось как игра судьбами, с жизнями людей и так далее. Но там, видимо, нашлись кто-то поумнее, кто подсказал, скорее всего, это иностранные кураторы, что отвергать такие инициативы – это проигрышная позиция для киевского режима, и они быстро согласились. Предложение не бить по объектам гражданской инфраструктуры, с этим надо разобраться. Ну, например, вот всем хорошо известен удар наших вооруженных сил по Конгресс-центру, по-моему, Сумского университета. Гражданский это объект или нет? Гражданский. Но там проходило награждение тех, кто совершил преступление в Курской области. И подразделений ВСУ, и националистов. И это те люди, которых мы считаем преступниками, которые должны получить заслуженное возмездие за содеянное в приграничной области, в том числе в Курске. Боевые действия возобновились. Мы об этом сказали с самого начала, когда объявляли перемирие. Мы к перемирию всегда относимся положительно, поэтому и выступили с такой инициативой. Мы всегда об этом говорили, о том, что мы относимся к любым мирным инициативам положительно. Надеемся, что также к этому будут относиться и представители киевского режима. Хотя мы видели первичную реакцию, я думаю, что это все заметили, было опубликовано заявление, согласно которому наше предложение рассматривалось как игра с судьбами, с жизнями людей и так далее. Но там, видимо, нашлись кто-то поумнее, кто подсказал, скорее всего, это иностранные кураторы, что отвергать такие инициативы – это проигрышная позиция для киевского режима, и они быстро согласились. Предложение не бить по объектам гражданской инфраструктуры, с этим надо разобраться. Ну, например, вот всем хорошо известен удар наших вооруженных сил по
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reiterated on Monday, April 21st, that Ukraine remained committed to its proposal to halt attacks on civilian targets. He emphasized the need for a clear response from Moscow regarding the proposal. Zelensky indicated that Ukraine was open to any form of dialogue to achieve this goal. He made the remarks during his nightly video address to the nation. The president also announced that a Ukrainian delegation would travel to London on Wednesday. The delegation is scheduled to hold talks with Western nations on resolving the ongoing conflict with Russia. Zelensky stated that main objective of the talks would be to push for an unconditional ceasefire as a starting point.
With partners from Europe, the UK, France, Germany, and from the United States. These meetings can bring us closer to a ceasefire and a real, lasting peace. Ukraine maintains its proposal not to strike at least civilian infrastructure, and we are expecting a clear response from Moscow. We are ready for any conversation about how to achieve this. There is an obvious, simplest, and most reliable path: to stop missile and long-range drone strikes, which would automatically ensure the protection of all civilian infrastructure. A ceasefire, real and lasting, must be the first step toward a reliable and enduring peace.
Саме припинення вогню реальне, тривале, має стати першим кроком до надійного і тривалого миру.
Ukrainian representatives, both at the meetings that took place in Paris and the one scheduled this week in London, have a primary task: to push for an unconditional ceasefire. This must be the starting point. Peace comes in silence, and only when there is real silence and people trust the entire negotiation process can fundamental issues be resolved. With partners from Europe, the UK, France, Germany, and from the United States. These meetings can bring us closer to a ceasefire and a real, lasting peace. Ukraine maintains its proposal not to strike at least civilian infrastructure, and we are expecting a clear response from Moscow. We are ready for any conversation about how to achieve this. There is an obvious, simplest, and most reliable path: to stop missile and long-range drone strikes, which would automatically ensure the protection of all civilian infrastructure. A ceasefire, real and lasting, must be the first step toward a reliable and enduring peace.
цивільної інфраструктури.
Pete Hegseth, President Trump's embattled defense secretary, is said to have shared information about the timings of the airstrikes on Houthi positions in Yemen in a second private chat group that included his wife and brother. Hegseth survived a scandal last month after sending the same information on the encrypted Signal app to senior administration staff in a group that mistakenly included a journalist who wrote about the plunder. The claim comes at a sensitive time for Hegseth amid the turmoil at the Pentagon after he fired 3 senior aides on Friday following a leak inquiry, while his chief of staff is also said to be moving.
Mr. Secretary, happy Easter egg roll, sir.
Hey, we're happy to be here at the Easter egg roll, I'll tell you that. Be with the family, beautiful day. And President Trump is changing the country.
What do you want to say, sir, about the Signal chat controversy?
You know, what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't give back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. Pulitzers for a bunch of lies.
What about comments from John
And
Williams?
on hoaxes, time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because, you know, this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why we're fighting the fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters. This group, this group right here, full of hoaxsters that peddle anonymous sources from leakers with axes to grind, and then you put it all together as if it's some news story. And when we know exactly what it is. So I'm really proud of what we're doing for the president, fighting hard across the board, and I'm going to go roll some Easter eggs with my kids. Thank you very much.
President, sir? Have you spoken with the president?
Have spoken to the president, and we are going to continue fighting on the same page.
Dozens of Israeli demonstrators took to the streets of Tel Aviv on Monday evening to protest against the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government, calling for his resignation. Some protesters were forcibly removed by police as they attempted to occupy a road in the city center.
אף אחד לא עובר אתכם, אף אחד לא עובר אתכם.
A group of U.S. lawmakers who traveled to El Salvador defended the case of Salvadoran man mistakenly deported to the Central American country comes down to respecting the legal process in the United States. U.S. Representatives Maxwell Frost of Florida, Robert Gracia of California traveled to El Salvador to facilitate Kilmer Abrego Garcia's return to the United States, they said in a statement.
All people in our country. Due process applies to all people in our country. It's one of the things that sets our country apart from other places across the entire world. And so we're worried, of course, we demand the release of Abrego Garcia, but we're also worried about our own constituents. We represent people across the entire nation. I'm from Orlando, Florida, a community filled with immigrants, a diverse community. And we're getting hundreds and hundreds of calls. People saying, go to El Salvador, do something. Do something about the fact that the President of the United States in the Oval Office is talking about sending U.S. citizens.
We're here in El Salvador demanding the release of Kilmer Abrego Garcia. We think it's incredibly important that the law in the United States is followed. Our Supreme Court, in a 9-0 decision, to be clear, has said that Mr. Abrego Garcia should be returned to the United States. That's been affirmed by other courts in the U.S. And we also want to be clear that the Trump administration has admitted publicly that he was sent here by mistake. So the administration has said he was here by mistake. The Supreme Court has said, bring him back to the United States. And that's what we're here to do.
We know nothing of Mr. Abrego Garcia's whereabouts since the staged photo op on Thursday with Senator Von Holland. We demand to immediately know where he is and to have access to him. Unfortunately, we are no longer a Salvadoran government. And indeed, this case is about many things, but above all, it is about truth versus lies. And there have been a lot of mistruths that have been told about Mr. Abrego Garcia and his family, a lot of defamation coming from the highest office in our country and the most...
All people in our country. Due process applies to all people in our country. It's one of the things that sets our country apart from other places across the entire world. And so we're worried, of course, we demand the release of Abrego Garcia, but we're also worried about our own constituents. We represent people across the entire nation.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, along with his family members, visited the Amber Fort on April 22nd. Vance, his Indian wife Usha Chilukuri Vance, and their 3 children, Evan, Vivek, Mirabel, reached the UNESCO World Heritage Site at around 9:30 a.m. local time. The Rajasthan Chief Minister Bhajan Lal Sharma and Deputy Chief Minister Diya Kumari welcomed them at the fort. And that's the end of the world 360. Stay tuned to CVR.